Anamosa, which is where I was yesterday, or where the folks here from Sioux City or whatever can compete and get jobs back here, because manufacturing jobs tend not to go in the big cities. Cost of doing business there is really expensive. People in the suburbs don't want those kind of jobs, but they will come to small town America, and so we put together a plan to allow us to compete. And what we found out from working with the National Association of Manufacturers is that we have a 20% cost competitive disadvantage from our 9 biggest trading partners, without considering the cost of labor. So if you set labor cost aside, we're still 20% uncompetitive with the rest of our trading partners. And the reason for that is taxes, litigation, regulation, energy costs, having nothing to do with labor costs. So what about is how are we gonna level the playing field and make us competitive again? And so I had some bold plans out there. I took the corporate tax on manufacturers and eliminated it. So we're not going to tax manufacturers. You make things here in America, you pay no corporate taxes, number 1, okay? Number 2, we took the regulations on manufacturers, the second biggest cost. And we said for all regulations that impact businesses over $100 million a year that the Obama administration put in place, we're going to repeal them. We're going to repeal them and replace them with regulations that will work with the business community to make sure that they can be competitive, and that we are not micromanaging the businesses and farms, I might add, from Washington, D.C. That's number 2. Number 3, if you did move your products overseas, and if you were, a company that moved your production out of Iowa and you moved it over to Mexico, and you made profits in Mexico, and right now if you want to bring those profits back, it costs a tax of about 35% on the repatriated profits. What I say is, if you take that money back into this country and you invest it in plant and equipment to create jobs in this country, you pay no excise tax. So you get tax-free money to come and invest in making things here in America. And 4th is energy costs. As I've traveled around to the 99 counties, and I just was in Mount Pleasant, and there were 3 folks there from the Rural Electric Co-op there. And they've been very present as I've traveled around the state and a lot of my town hall meetings. And they're worried. The business I was at was a small restaurant, and it's a pizza parlor, and he's concerned about the cost of electricity and electric rates going up and up. And the same thing with manufacturers. Manufacturers cannot use a huge amount of electricity, and so we have to have affordable electric rates, which means we have to have an energy policy that will produce affordable energy. The present administration is doing everything they can to drive energy costs up. They are restricting the mining of coal. They're restricting the use of coal, burning coal. They don't like nuclear. They don't like, they don't like any kind of. They like cylindrical. They like solar power, which of course is not going to do anything to improve the power grid of this country. It simply isn't robust enough to do that. We have to burn fossil fuels or produce nuclear power, and this administration is against that. So we've developed a policy is a pro-energy policy that eliminates all subsidies for all energy. We don't have the government coming in and saying we like nuclear, or we like wind, or we like solar, or we like ethanol. We're phasing out all the subsidies on oil, gas, ethanol, wind, solar, you name it, phase them all out. There are no subsidies for coal. And so we level the playing field and let the market produce the energy that the market can do so efficiently, number 1. Number 2, we open up areas for drilling. We make the permitting process. You can't get a permit to mine coal in America. It takes 2 to 3 years. Longer than it normally does now, and there hasn't been a permit issued in at least I think almost 2 years for a coal mine, because this administration is just anti-coal. We are the Saudi Arabia of coal. We have more coal than any other country in the world, and we have an administration that won't let us mine it. So we need a very pro and aggressive, whether it's opening up Alaska, which I'm in favor of, or offshore. We need or building the pipeline from North Dakota so we can have energy in this country and reduce the cost of energy. We've proven we can do this. If you look at one of the other big things that manufacturers need, it's natural gas. And the price of natural gas has gone from $12 per unit down to $3.60 for one reason and one reason only, is that we found a huge reserve of natural gas in Pennsylvania. We're drilling 3,000 wells a year, and the price of natural gas has gone down by almost over 70%. So it shows you that exploring and creating energy here in this country will reduce the cost of energy to Americans. The idea that we have to pay $100 a barrel for oil is ridiculous. If we drilled the oil here, oil prices would go down because you would have a stable and reliable supply here in this country and not be dependent upon places around the world that are unstable, like Iran, for oil. Come on in. Please come on in. Come on in, sir, if you want to come on in, sit down. If you want to sit over there, whatever you want to do, come on in. So anyway, that's the plan. We know that will create a lot of jobs, millions of jobs, and it will create jobs in areas of the country where the unemployment rate's the highest, where the population is leaving, and be able to turn this country around and really, help not just rural America or ex-urban America, but also to help blue-collar workers. If you look at the unemployment rate among college-educated people in America today, right now, it's 4.4%. But for blue-collar workers, it's over 10%. For those who don't have college education, it's over 10%. For those who don't have a high school degree, it's almost 14%. So we need to create jobs for folks who are not college educated, who have skills, who can be trained to get the kind of jobs that are necessary to support themselves and their family and stay out of poverty. If you look at the average manufacturing job, it pays $20,000 more a year than the average job in America. So it does tell you how important it is to make things here. The other final point is the pride of being, of buying things that are made in America. And the idea that we, in fact, can compete. This idea that the president says that we're lazy. It just is about an insulting a thing. This was reminded me, as soon as he heard that, I said, this is Jimmy Carter talking about malaise. It's now Barack Obama saying we're lazy. Americans are not lazy. Americans are the hardest working people in the world by any objective measure. We work harder, longer hours, do more than anybody else. What we have is a president who does everything he can to crush the people who work hard in America and make them pay and punish them to redistribute wealth to the folks that aren't working as hard. And then he wonders why, quote, people are lazy. People aren't lazy. They want to work hard. They want to provide for themselves. They want opportunities. And we need a president who believes in that, who believes and rewards that, instead of thinks that they're the person who's the great redistributor in America, which is what this president believes he is. So we're going to go out and show the American people we can compete. We can create jobs here in America. We can have made in America, and not just made in America for us to buy, but to export all over the world. And be, again, the kind of manufacturing power that provides jobs for all Americans going forward. I'll be happy to stop and talk about a whole bunch of other things. We'll talk about national security. There's a lot of issues going on right now in the Middle East with Iran and the potential for getting a nuclear weapon. We'll talk about family issues. I issued a statement the other day on I think it was about 25 things that I would do as President of the United States if I was elected on faith and family and life, marriage. So we're putting out and published today the economic plan, of which I just gave you a segment of, but I have a comprehensive economic plan that I put out today. So we're putting the ideas out there, and hopefully people will start to focus in and pay attention. That not only do we have a good ideas to put out, but we also have a record to back it up. In other words, my record in the United States Senate and the House was consistent with what I say I want to do now. I didn't say, well, I believed in this and then I'm going to do this differently now that I'm running for president. my record is consistent with my policy proposals. And I think that's one of the things that I hope the people of Iowa are going to be looking at. They're going to look and say, who can we trust to do what they say they're going to do? That's done it in the past, that stood up and was willing to go and fight the battles, popular or not, and for the kind of values that we believe work in America, the conservative values of our country. And so we think we have the best track record, and if you do too, we certainly would appreciate your help. I'll be happy to stop and take questions.